are going to start with a ministerial discussion which has to do with a lot of geopolitical issues, the state of the industry in various countries, especially the MSGBC Basin and around the world. On this discussion, we have Her Excellency Minister Sophie Gladima, Minister of Petroleum and Energies of the Republic of Senegal. His Excellency Abdessalam Mohamed Salah, Minister of Petroleum, Mines and Energy from the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. Honorable Minister Abdoulie Jobe, Minister of Petroleum and Energy, Republic of the Gambia. You have to always say the Gambia, be careful. If not, then Kani Jobe would go after you. Next, this one needs no introduction. His Excellency Gabriel Mbaga Obiang Lima from the continent of Equatorial Guinea. His Excellency Bruno Jean-Richard Itoua, President of OPEC and Minister of Hydrocarbons of the Republic of Congo. One of the youngest one, he thinks he's old, he's still young. Foday Mansaray, Republic of Sierra Leone. His Excellency Didier Bodimbu Ntubanga, from the Minister of Hydrocarbons from the Democratic Republic of Africa. You can't say the Congo anymore, it's of Africa. And you have a man who gave us a brilliant speech this morning, Honorable Minister Tom Alweendo from the Republic of Namibia, Minister of Mines and Energy. Ministers, we are going to get into it quickly, and the best thing I like about this is that they didn't share with you guys the questions, and even me, they didn't share the questions because I was going to change them. But let's start with this MSGBC Basin. What is the energy landscape when we talk about the local and regional issues and some of the challenges that you face? I know sometimes we always talk about challenges, but for the audience, what is the state of energy at this basin right now? You know, and I would like to start with our host minister, Minister Gladima. You know I was going to go for you first. You've been giving me hell the last 3 days. What do you expect? That's why you go first. Well, with a young one, eh? All right, Minister Jobe, they appointed you. I'm sorry.
I can't.
Is your mic working?
I cannot refuse the invitation of my host to speak first, because we have been well taken care of since our arrival here. And of course, the ladies first will now be transformed to men first. So, my sister, with pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I think this is a very pertinent question, and energy being very wide, you know, not limited to oil and gas, but I would like to spread it to include energy in totality, electricity, you know, the gas, oil, etc. Specifically, we all know the basin is very rich in oil and gas resources. The figures speaks for itself, but I think what we need to do within the MSGBC Basin is to control the price of our resources, especially with natural gas, which is being very region specific. Energy, electricity, as we stated here earlier, is the access to electricity is very low in the region. Gas prices, skyrocketing because of the recent crisis, Ukraine, COVID, etc., supply chain disruptions. The thing that needs to be done is to provide access to electricity, not only electricity, but access to affordable, clean, and sustainable energy. And I think that would cross across electricity, cooking, gas, etc. This is something that we have to elevate in terms of access and making it also available, making it affordable as well. We know, as has been said since this morning, gas is an integral element to have the transformational change. Not only in terms of the resource, but also in terms of the infrastructure that needs to be in place to be able to, yeah.
And I'm going to be stopping you guys a lot, so forgive me. Someone on my mic. Can I get a... Minister, you're talking about gas, but I read somewhere in the newspapers, and I don't trust journalists a lot, but they said you're running a licensing round. Is that still happening, and what's the update on that new licensing? Because someone is going to have to drill for you to get the gas, and so we need to get that investment in. Where do we stand with that licensing round? Is it still ongoing? Are you still expecting people to apply, or what's the state of that process?
Just before I joined the ministry, I think there was a request for proposal for that licensing round, and the response was very dismal, but it has been extended, and I am reliably informed that we have received, prospective interests, which we believe will be given due consideration, and we are hopeful because, as you may be aware, recently the government extended the license for one of the licensees, which is FAR, and exercised a lot of flexibility because of the challenges that the sector is facing. So we are hopeful that we will create the environment to attract legitimate and investments in the sector.
So is it fair to say they're going to sign some deals?
That's our objective, and we will do everything possibly possible to make it happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mohamed Salah, can you just, for some of the onlookers here, I think we saw great presentations from BP on the current state of the developments. Are we on track, Minister? And there's been reports about delays. There's been reports about this big movement. But I think it will be fair to hear from you, where are we? And also, what's happening with the other projects around. So I think we would like you to clarify that on your side.
Thank you very much, and let me first of all take this opportunity to once again thank very much Minister Gladima and also President Macky Sall himself, and transmit to him and to the people of Senegal the greetings of His Excellency President of Mauritania, and pay tribute to all of those that are working to promote regional collaboration in this very, very strategic area. We are meeting today in a time of crisis. Actually, we have always been in crisis. 1 year ago, we were here just at the end of COVID-19, and oil and gas prices were at the floor. And everybody was wondering whether oil and gas had any future. That was the big question. And today, the big question is, are we doing enough for exploration, for investment, to ensure that people and the world has the gas and oil it needs for the development? If I am to trust what the political figures, major political figures in the European continent are saying, and experts, we are at the start of a major, major crisis, one that we have not seen for several decades. This is one of the only time in our living life that we have seen both oil and gas price skyrocketing, food price skyrocketing, and high interest rate. And nobody has actually a solution.
Minister,
yeah, I'm coming to your question.
If you don't mind, I would just stop you so you have a better mic, because I got these women looking at me. They can't hear you very well because of the thing, and I hate getting dirty looks from women. So maybe you should use the mic.
Merci bien. Ça marche? Allô? Oui, je viens à votre question tout de suite. This is just saying that we are at a time of crisis, but famous British politician, it was a long time ago, I want to assure everybody, once said, don't let any crisis to go to waste. Use any crisis for build opportunities. This is a fantastic opportunity for Africa, for the MSGBC, Mauritania, Senegal, and the others, to give a big push to the exploration and to the production of oil and gas, to take this opportunity right now. And we will not be able to do it if we don't build a partnership, and partnership is built on confidence and trust. And we are lucky to have some very big operators, BP and Cosmos, that have accompanied us over the last few years, and they have been extremely committed, even at time of COVID. And today they have been pushing very hard, and their teams have been working extremely hard to get the project where it is now. 80%, you heard this morning what the VP of BP said, and it will deliver the first gas at the end of 2023. But that is not the end of the story. What I got from that speech is this is a decade-long engagement of BP and Cosmos in this basin, and we want to take them at their words, and we'll do our part of the commitment. We expect them to do, and I'm sure they will do their part, which is bringing the production of the GTA from 2.5 million today to 10 million in a foreseeable horizon. But more than that, continuing also with the dialogue that is starting already in the Birala project in Mauritania, which is, as you know, a very big field, still requiring a lot of studies to be sure of the subsurface connectivity, etc. But it's looking like a very, very good field as well. We hope that in 2 or 3 years' time, we can agree on an investment plan. So beyond oil and gas, and this is very important, this is why we started with the crisis. Even if we solve the current crisis, if we even give the big push to oil and gas production, let's not forget the real problem. The real problem is how we get energy to every African citizen. We have been producing oil and gas for decades, some countries, but still we are one of the countries with the one of the regions with the highest rate of poverty. So something is wrong in the way we are producing and exporting gas. Let's be frank about that. So we cannot replicate the same thing. Clearly, we need to divert more gases to our production, national production, to solve our problem. And let's remember that the European countries, all the developed countries, if they are the stage of development they are at now, this is because they have oil and gas at low prices for several decades. Oil prices were at $2 in the 50s, and between $2 and $4 up to the beginning of the 70s. And this is what fueled economic growth and prosperity in Europe. So somehow, this whole problematic of the importance of energy in the poverty and economic development transformation is missing. I scrolled through reports, the World Development Reports of the World Bank, which are reference for all of us, and everybody who think about development will first go to the World Development Reports. And they have dealt with every problematic, from governance, education, health, infrastructure, risks management, finance, everything in there. But you will not see one of those reports devoted to the impact, the relation between exactly what I'm talking about, gas, oil, and poverty reduction. And this missing link probably is the reason why Africa is still trailing and still. So we need to change that problematic. We need to give priority, top priority to access of every African citizen to energy and to cheap and to secure energy. Before that, if we don't have that, forget about economic transformation, forget about poverty, forget about inequality. Inequality, the mother of all inequalities is access to energy, actually. Think about all the rural poor today who cannot go to education safely. Even in the COVID, we could not get vaccines to go to half of our population because we don't have refrigeration. So everything you can think about requires energy. So we need to change the way we think about accessing the energy, so transforming the economy, and that is changing this paradigm that is required. So in short, we need trust with our partners. We need to build win-win partnership, President Macky Sall told about, but we need to change the paradigm of the way we are thinking. We need to go beyond that and look at the energy as a whole. And here, I will not sacrifice the renewable energy for gas and oil. We have huge resources of renewable energy. We need to tap into it. And you talk about secure energy. The most secure energy is the one that is the most localized. Nobody can take out your sun, and nobody will be able to take out your wind, whatever they do. So let's also continue to invest massively in renewable energy and in green energy, including green hydrogen. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I want to pick up, Mr. Lima, I want to pick up what Minister Mohamed Salah just said about changing the paradigm and also localized energy. As a legacy producer around Africa and looking at the MSGBC Basin, there is a big discussion right now about gas going to Europe versus gas on the domestic. But looking at what Minister Mohamed Salah said, how do we get that localized energy to work, number one? Number two, how do we still drive up exploration in most of these frontier markets? Because the MSGBC Basin, as much as what most of your colleagues here are looking at, it's still underexplored. What next do we look at?
That's me, no?
I guess you're the only Lima on here.
Yes, after lunch. So, first of all, NJ, I want to start by giving a very big thank you to His Excellency, the President Macky Sall, the Minister, all the organizers for deciding to invite me in Equatorial Guinea to be able to participate. Last year we tried to do it, but Omicron became my excuse. It's true, it was not an excuse, it was true. My country was about to be locked down, so I was called and I was asked, so either you return quickly or you're going to stay out of the country for a while. So I decided that I prefer to be home with Madame for all that period. So it was good. It was good. So I want to go into your question regarding that. And before I do that, I usually, when I go to event, I describe my three views on free matters. One is the world view, another one is the Africa, and then Equatorial Guinea. That's where I'm the minister and I'm being paid for. So regarding the war, and I think it's very important, we cannot obviate the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. But also, it's very important to be realizing that there is another conflict coming, and this is China and the United States. Now, I say this, and I want to make sure that is my first point, because the first conflict is regarding producers. The second conflict is regarding consumers. So it's very important that all our oil and gas, we are very aware of those two conflicts, because that's going to be changing a lot of things for the years coming up. So that's one of the key things that I have been speaking right now in the event, to be very careful on those key conflicts, because they are actually economic wars. And that economic wars are creating economic destructions. And as producers, we don't want volatility. We want a consumer who can buy it all the time. So now going into your question regarding the MSGBC. It's always difficult to go through all that. And I think they have one key strategic location advantage. And this is that you have to remember that in our sector, regarding exporting oil and gas, there is two key basins, so I was calling basin, two areas, the Atlantic and the Pacific. And for many years, we all have been focusing on the Pacific, the Asian market. China, in this case, Japan, India. But now, the Atlantic basin is becoming actually the better one. And it's becoming a better one because clearly Europe is a big market. Everything that you could give to Europe right now, they will take it. Gas, oil, fossil fuel, anything. They will just take it to make sure that they have energy. But at the same time, there is something very important coming up, is that that's the market of the US. US probably, to maintain their economic growth, probably by next year they will become a net importer again. The US, I mean, everybody's talking about they're exporting, Trump, Biden, the rest. But to be able to maintain that economic, they're going to become a net importer. And to be a net importer, knowing that you're not going to be able to tap into Russia, the African, we are becoming difficult, some of us. Clearly, your area and this area, it will be a very important target to provide, again, one of the biggest markets. And this is the US market. So I think it's very important to be able to look not only on the short term. The short term, everybody see the need from Europe. But you need to look for the long term. That's my only advice that I will say. It looks very juicy. It looks a very good price. But this is temporary. It's a geopolitics. It's a conflict. When the conflict finishes, maybe the price will change again. So again, that's something very important. The second thing, and you asked me for advice for the region. The second thing is that the more secure market for African producers is Africa. The more secure market for Africa producers is Africa. We need to be able to create a market that if I know that I export LNG to South Africa, I export LNG to Egypt, to Morocco, to Algeria, I know my brothers will be very clear, these are the producers, and will be for a long time without having to deal with policy of other continents. So I think it's very important that when we talk about to secure a future and to reduce energy poverty, we are talking about creating energy security. This is what the United States did when they have the deal with Saudi Arabia. This is what China did doing deal with Africa. They need to make sure that they secure the energy security. And if we want to have more power in Africa, we have to start talking about how to help our Europeans that they have problem now. We need to think first what that Africa needs. Then if something is remaining, then we can share with our brothers in the north. But it's very important not to miss that part that Africa have a big demand. This is the biggest and fastest growing in population, youth population. And all those youth need jobs. And to have jobs, you need electricity. You are training all these youth for IT. You are training them for management. You are training for service. You can't do no IT service without electricity. You need a lot of power. So I encourage, again, this is what I have been saying, not just talk about energy poverty, think about solution. And the Secretary General Farouk have said, we are presenting projects. We probably next week are going to be presenting the Central Africa pipeline. And that's going to be very important because we have been for many years, like the Minister of Mauritania, saying exporting oil. Where? To Europe, to Asia, to America. Exporting gas. Where? To Europe, to Asia, to America.
But Minister, is
But we
this a
can
time
do
for
it ourselves.
pipelines?
Huh?
Is this a time for pipelines? We've seen a big backlash against pipelines. And I think if you watch the market, they're talking about a lot of protests happening with the, the EACOP, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline. Should we be talking about pipelines, whether it is around MSGBC or CEMAC? And honestly, shouldn't we be thinking more about climate resilient projects rather than pipelines?
Well, I will give you the best example. You go to any country like Ghana, like Equatorial Guinea, what Nigeria, what do you see in the highways? You see cars and trucks. There are actually more trucks with fuel than actually cars. So we are still transporting our products by trucks. Go to Europe, go to United States. You don't see the trucks in the highway. You see some of them short distance. But what the pipeline do is that it reduces the cost of transportation of the products. You have like no country like Burkina Faso, Central Africa, Chad, Congo, DRC. Their fuel is very high because of transportation. But if you actually put in place pipeline, what do the Europeans have done? Do a pipeline from Russia all the way to France, from Russia all the way to Germany. And what did they do? They actually allowed their economy to grow because they have cheap energy. So if we want to be able to create the jobs, and remember one key thing that people forget, who are the countries, especially in Africa, who have all the minerals that need to be exploited and processed? It's the African countries, landlocked countries, Burkina Faso, Congo, DRC, and they don't have the power. So again, those companies actually will be able to do it. And what it will do that, it will create real economy. So for me, I have been able to talk with, presented to the ministers, Minister of Brazzaville, DRC, Cameroon, Gabon, even the presidents, all of them, they love it. Why? Because they will be able to share that. I'll give you another very important example. We all are talking about refineries. But when we talk about refineries, everybody wants to do the little refineries. But if you do 1 or 2 refineries and they are connected, I don't need to do a refinery for the market of Equatorial Guinea. I could do a refinery that is connected to Cameroon or Central Africa or to Chad and then export it. Why Rotterdam, Netherlands, that have no resources? It's so rich because everything arrives there and then distributed to the rest of the European through pipelines. So again, I think clearly that's our solution. We need to create our markets. And our key resource is the mining. We need to hook, again, oil and gas with mining because mining needs a lot of power. You have countries like Sierra Leone, like Liberia, have a lot of minerals. But they cannot even give electricity to the people. Why? Because it's too expensive. And then all the mining companies need to create their own power. So I'm an advocate, again, not for fossil fuel for Africa. And I do believe our solution to create a market is to build pipeline that can actually connect not only region, but the entire continent of Africa for oil, gas, and other resources that we will need.
Thank you, Minister. Minister Itoua, you hold the distinction of being the OPEC president at the moment. A lot of those in this room and maybe those watching online, they are not very happy with you. They see the price at the pump really, really high. And in the MSGBC Basin, a lot of countries are net importers. I'm surprised you've not been hijacked or maybe thrown out of here. With this kind of volatility and oil prices being at $100 Brent at this morning, gas prices skyrocketing, you are developing gas projects in the Congo Brazzaville. What do you tell consumers in this MSGBC region right now that are looking at the market and they are hoping to get a break at the pump?
Which is a very...
You're not the bad guy, but you look like the bad guy.
Very huge issue.
I should ask for having a conference, you know, for many days to give the full answer to that. But it's okay. We'll try to summarize what we can say about that. But first of all, I would like to thank really, and really I'm saying that sincerely, the President Macky Sall for the leadership he's taking here in not only in Western Africa, but in all Africa, not only now because he's the chair of the African Union, but he used to do it for many, many other issues. Thanks to my dear sister, because I know what it means organizing a conference. And really, since this morning is very well done, and since I arrived in Dakar, which is my second country, maybe she doesn't know that, I'm very, very happy to see how things are going on. As you said, as maybe some people know, as it was said this morning, Congo is running now the presidency of OPEC after Angola, after Algeria, and next year will be the big young man. Is no more a young man now because there are so many younger ministers, so he loses that position. And let me say two, three things. The first one, when you talk about gas, you're talking about energy. You cannot say just gas. It doesn't make sense talking only about gas because it's clearly a part of energy issue. So regarding the energy issue, maybe we should give more information about the situation, the world situation. Today, based on the figures we have, all the expectation, all the forecast we have from scientists, not from ideologists, from scientists, we should remain having a very strong demand, growing for other world, growing. Nobody's saying that the demand will be decreasing for the next year, 10 years. No. For the next 25 years, we will see the energy demand going up and up and up and up. We don't know where which level it will reach in 25 years. The economic growth should be, even for this year, it will be there. For other words, for Africa, for our countries. And when you have economic growth, you have the energy demand increasing in a very, very, very high level, as I said. The issue is how to face this energy demand. What do we have? We have fossil energy. We have renewable energy. And the figures are showing that for the next 25 years, we cannot face the demand only with renewable energy. That's a fact. It's not a story. It's not philosophy. We will need strongly minimum 40% in 25 years, 20% of the energy coming from fossil resources. So that's a fact. So the other things are just a philosophy. The question is not to stop producing gas or oil, even not to reduce. This is the worst thing to do. You know, a big chairman of a very, very, very important oil company said, if we stop today producing just one well, if we decide that all the companies, I think we will be facing a war everywhere. Why? Because the prices will go up in a level which nobody can even imagine. So it doesn't make sense. So we can't stop producing oil and gas for a long time. It's not African position. This is a position of companies. Some of them are here. This is the position of OPEC. And it's made seriously, it's said seriously by very serious guys working on the issue of energy.
But Minister, what about climate change?
That's the second point.
Because if you continue producing, how are we going to get to net zero?
Thank you for the question. This was the second point I was supposed to raise. The second one, how we can remain producing oil and gas. This is the second point. This is a real point. Yes, a real issue. The key point is that one. We need to produce in a better way, according to the climate change issues, and we can do it.
But Minister, we're flaring a lot. How can we produce in a better way when we continue flaring?
Flaring is no more an issue. In my country, we decided 10 years ago to stop flaring, and right now I wrote a letter to all the companies asking them to stop flaring. So you see, if I can do that as Congo Brazzaville, anyone can do it. And they're working on that, and all the companies is telling me we will stop flaring in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years. We're working on that. Maybe at the end of the year or the beginning of next year, I will tell you next conference in Cape Town what will happen in Congo Brazzaville when we'll be able to stop flaring. So if we can do that, anyone can do that. It's no more issue. We have solution to produce even oil in a better condition. We have solution to produce even oil without less and less carbon. All the companies are now giving the target of zero carbon. Some of them have already told me 2030, we will be zero carbon. In my country, which is not the best one in terms of technology. So I guess that the other countries, like in Europe, in USA, they can do it. So we need to now include it as one of the most important constraints we have now as oil producing countries, as oil companies. We must include that like one of the emergencies we have to face.
Are you willing to consider carbon capturing as part of your operation?
Many things. I think the Secretary General of Apple was saying that the second issue we have is technology. I mean, technology for what? Technology for having zero carbon. For oil, I'm saying oil. Gas, I have a nice indication given by my expert here, which is, thank you, my advisor is in the room. The European Commission in 2022, this year, the 2nd of February, they have decided that gas is a green transition energy. Not you, not me, not Africa. European Commission. They decide that now, finally, they understand, finally, at the end of the day, after working month and month, after saying what they said in COP26, finally, European Commission, they said, 2nd February of this year, whoa, we just have a revelation. Gas is a green transition energy. So there is no more debate about gas for me. There is no more debate. We need to stop wasting time to explain how, why, how much gas is a good solution. No. There is no more debate about that. So now we can produce gas as much as we can. Everywhere we have a sign that there is a gas, we should produce it immediately. Immediately. Because it's a very good solution for the transition. It may be a good solution even for the future. So now the question is what to do after saying that. You're asking me about the prices. The aim of having OPEC is not to have high prices. The only reason of having OPEC, and we are many members here of OPEC, is to stabilize the market, because oil market is the most volatile in the world.
But they say it's a cartel. Are you doing a good job to stabilize it?
We're trying to do the best we can for that. It's not easy because we are only 13 members. We would be happy to have good, big producing countries, European one, American one, to come and join us to do that. But today we are very happy because we have OPEC Plus, we have other members, non-OPEC, working with us not to have high prices, but to stabilize the market. And what you're trying to do. But unfortunately, we have so many other situations, like the one we have in Europe, Ukraine and Russia, and we have no control on that. There is no way for us to have control on everything which have an impact on the market. So sometimes, unfortunately, the prices become high. First of all, we are more and more African countries producing gas. So this is good news for them. Every day we have a new African country producing gas and oil. So I think in 10 years, maybe we will have all Africa producing oil and gas. So this is good. But we still have consumers in Africa. And some of the countries, for them, it's very difficult. That's why we need to have an African policy. And one of the things, Secretary General this morning, he pointed as one of the most important issues, the third one. Gabriel was explaining very strongly, as he knows, how much we need to have an African market. If we want to survive, let me say that, we need to have an African market, which starts by your country market, and maybe sub-regional market, and at the end, African market. We need. I don't want to describe more than he did. I think we should work on that. And when I say market, it's not only market for gas as gas. As we know, we can use gas for power. We can use gas as local energy, even for poor population, instead of using wood and coal and charcoal and so and so. We can use gas for petrochemical, and we can use gas for industry, and we can take gas as new energy instead of using fuel. So we have so many uses we can have, even in a country, which can give us a market. But we can have a bigger market. We can have a wider market, as he said, with pipelines. But today, I think LNG is giving another perspective for the market. Because LNG, you can transport it by railway, by trucks, by boat, by everything. So you can bring it everywhere in your country, everywhere you want, as soon as we have a train, road, and you can have a boat. So I think it should change drastically our view about the gas market. So if we have in Africa our market, if we're producing oil and gas, we can have our regulation of prices and not waiting for what happened in the world, in Russia or what or where or not. Somebody decided to put a strategic stocks on the market.
Minister, I want to interrupt you, and I'm going to be doing that a lot.
Yeah.
But then I want to jump over to the DRC with Minister Didier Boudimbo, who just lost in the licensing round, and to pick on exactly what you're saying.
Good.
If we are producing in other our oil in countries. Minister Didier Boudimbo, you just launched, I'm coming back to you, you know, I'm not letting you off the hook, maybe. You just launched a licensing round last month. You didn't invite me, it's okay. But, you know, you didn't invite me, that's all right. I wasn't invited, so. But Minister, you are putting out about 27 oil blocks at this time. You're sitting next to the Namibian minister with great discoveries. Can you let us know what's the drive right now? And just like Mr. Jobe from the Gambia said, how are you going to push forward with this drive to license fast, quickly, push more, but also cope with the market realities around a transition and around a market that needs, my best question, better fiscal terms for exploration?
Merci beaucoup. Je commence d'abord par... La première chose, c'est que je pensais que, et je pense encore que le Sénégal, c'est un pays francophone, mais apparemment tout le monde parle anglais.
Il faut parler en français, c'est bon.
Le ministre Bruno aussi parle anglais, donc je me sens un peu... Je remercie le président Macky Sall d'abord pour l'accueil et la ministre par rapport à l'accueil chaleureux que nous avons reçu, moi et toute ma délégation. Je suis en train de découvrir une ville merveilleuse, une belle ville, et on a surtout bien mangé le Jobe, je pense, qui était très bon. Donc, par rapport à la question, c'est que le Congo, la République démocratique du Congo, c'est un potentiel d'à peu près 22 milliards de barils qui est pratiquement prouvé. Et au jour d'aujourd'hui, il n'y a que 4,5% de ce potentiel qui est exploité. Donc, qui veut dire que tout est à faire. Nous avons une grande population, près de 100 millions d'habitants. Et rien que dans la ville de Kinshasa, on a pratiquement entre 12 et 14 millions d'habitants, qui veut dire que nous avons une population qui peut consommer. Donc, nous pouvons consommer ce qu'on peut produire. Au jour d'aujourd'hui, sur tous les blocs que nous avons, parce qu'on en a une soixantaine, nous avons mis 27 blocs pétroliers dans les appels d'offres pour pouvoir les attribuer, et 3 blocs gaziers du lac Kivu. Parce que comme la plupart le savent, ou ceux qui ne le savent pas, le lac Kivu, il y a le gaz méthane qui se retrouve là-dedans, et en fait, c'est un gaz qui se régénère, qui fait que c'est ceux qui vont pouvoir avoir ce marché-là, qui pourront l'exploiter. Et ce sera vraiment, on ne sait pas quand est-ce qu'on pourrait épuiser ça. Ça, c'est la première des choses. Nos blocs ont été prouvés, celui qui est du côté de Gabriel-Albertine, d'après les études de ENI, le potentiel est de près de 5 milliards de barils. Donc, il veut dire que la République démocratique du Congo, mon pays, a besoin de ces ressources pour pouvoir se développer. Quand on a lancé ces appels d'offres, nous avons reçu des critiques un peu partout. Nous avons été attaqués à gauche, à droite par des ONG qui nous disent que nous voulons détruire la planète parce que le Congo étant le premier poumon de l'humanité, grâce aux tourbières qui se trouvent au niveau de la forêt équatoriale. Mais nous jugeons que c'est aussi un peu absurde. Pourquoi c'est absurde? Parce que nos blocs, il y a des blocs qui sont aussi grands que vous mettez la Belgique et le Luxembourg ensemble, ça ne fait qu'un seul bloc de la République démocratique du Congo. Donc si les tourbières se trouvent dans la zone d'Anvers et que nous commençons à forer dans la zone de Namur, je ne pense pas que ça aura de l'impact sur la biodiversité ou sur l'environnement. Donc il y a moyen, et nous demandons plus à être accompagnés pour que tout se fasse dans les normes, de façon à pouvoir protéger que ce soit ces tourbières, mais au moins que la République démocratique du Congo, le peuple congolais, puisse tirer profit de la manne qu'il a sous ses pieds, sous son sous-sol. Et cette manne-là ne profitera pas qu'à la République démocratique du Congo, mais ça pourra profiter à toute l'Afrique. Parce qu'avec le projet du ministre Gabriel, qui est de pouvoir faire interconnecter nos pays pour pouvoir distribuer le gaz que nous avons, le pétrole, entre pays frontaliers, pays africains, si le Congo arrive à avoir une grande production, nous pensons que notre production pourra profiter aux pays voisins. Et si nous mettons aussi les pipelines, nous pensons que la production des voisins pourra aussi nous profiter. Donc,
Minister, I'm going to stop you there, and I think you're hitting on something, but I want to push right back to exploration. There has been great concerns about exploration in the Congo, especially with environmental reasons. Some say the world would end if you explore for oil. Some say you should not touch any kind of oil or gas exploration. And there is a massive uproar saying you should not do it. How are you going to carry out this process while still, I'm a lawyer, I don't know how to ask the question anymore, but while still addressing environmental concerns as when it comes to that, because the DRC is a very sensitive to my good friends from the environmental community. I know Friends of the Earth is already there, and there is a big campaign. How are you going to walk this walk, given the massive potential that you have?
Tout à fait, mais sur les 27 blocs, tous les blocs ne sont pas concernés dans ces zones qui font peur, pas du tout. Et quand on parle du bassin du Congo, ce n'est pas que la République démocratique du Congo. Il y a une grande partie de la forêt équatoriale qui se trouve au Gabon, même au niveau de la République voisine du Congo-Brazzaville. Mais nous savons que, par exemple, au Gabon, le Gabon, ils ont commencé à exploiter, ça fait plus de 50 ans, au sein même de la forêt équatoriale. Il n'y a pas eu mort, le monde, on continue à vivre, on continue à respirer. Et je pense qu'avec la technologie que nous avons actuellement, la technologie à travers le monde, il y a possibilité que nous puissions faire ce travail, que nous puissions extraire l'huile qui est sous terre sans pour autant toucher à la biodiversité, sans pour autant qu'il y ait la fin du monde. Je ne pense pas qu'il y aura la fin du monde à cause de ça, parce que nous n'allons pas non plus commencer à décaper la terre ou aller là où se trouvent les tourbières pour tout retourner. Non. Nous allons le faire avec beaucoup de sérieux, et nous allons être, de toute façon, dans nos lois, avant de commencer l'exploitation, nous sommes obligés de faire des études d'impact environnemental. C'est en fonction de ces études-là que les travaux peuvent commencer et peuvent continuer. Donc, tout est mis en place pour que les choses soient vraiment, comment dire, un peu carrées, et que la population et que le monde, la planète puissent être protégés.
Est-ce que c'est possible qu'on peut avoir un contrat pour Kivu Gas?
Oh, merci de moi, c'est une question française. Les contrats par rapport, vous parlez du lac Kivu, le gaz qui est autour du niveau.
Oui.
Il y a 3 blocs gaziers que nous avons mis. Les gens doivent soumissionner. Jusque-là, il y a déjà 2 prétendants qui sont là. Et bon. On est en train d'attendre. Le délai, c'est mi-octobre. On va clôturer par rapport au bloc gazier. Mais on a déjà deux potentielles personnes qui vont peut-être exploiter ça. Mais les contrats seront avec les normes ITA. Tout sera sur le site du ministère. Il n'y a rien qui va se faire d'une façon opaque. Tout va se faire d'une façon transparente. Et on pourra attribuer ces blocs-là.
Minister Didier Boudimbo, thank you so much. Minister Alweendo, I'm going to come to you, but on your right, there's a man who is very young. I don't know if he's your son, but he's so young, and he's out trying to do a lot of frontier exploration. I was going to have Minister Mohamed Salah talk to him, or Minister Gabriel, but you're the new kid on the block, and you just had two massive discoveries. Total Energies with very good discoveries around the Venus. I will not mention the numbers, they might sue me, so I would stay quiet. And Shell and the Graph. But looking at Sierra Leone, what did Namibia do so well to encourage exploration, even during difficult times for many years, to have this kind of success, one? And also, beyond Sierra Leone, what lessons can you also share with our friends from the MSGBC Basin, like the Gambia, and even Mauritania and Senegal, and even some of the folks from Guinea-Bissau, Conakry here, that you did to be a hub for explorers and to be for a hub that people continued to come and put their money until finally success? Foday is listening.
Thank you, NJ. There is an English proverb that says, goes like, desperate times calls for desperate measures. It actually simply means that at times actions that seems extraordinary, that seems like extreme during normal times, can actually be justified during the time of adversities. And suddenly they all look like that's normal. And we have seen that now happening around the world, where people say they wouldn't do what they are now doing because now they're actually facing desperate times. And therefore, when we speak about the energy on the African continent, I'm not so sure how much do we realize how desperate times we are in. And I was just asking myself, if I were one of those 600 million African people, we say they don't have electricity, and they are listening in on our discussion right here, that's supposed to help them get that electricity. I'm thinking, would they think we are desperate enough, and therefore we're actually taking extraordinary measure to make sure that they do have that electricity? And that's probably something that we need really to ask ourselves. What sort of actions are we taking to really address the issues? Because I think at times we speak as if somehow we want to get somebody's permission to do what we think we need to do. And it's almost as if somebody is refusing that permission, and therefore we kind of like, oh, please, let's do this, let's do this. So how desperate are we? Because we're already desperate. When you have got an African continent where you have got the average unemployment rate in the 30s, that's desperate measures, and therefore you need to do everything else for you to get the energy that you need to industrialize the economies. But on the question you asked, yes, I think we were lucky to be able to discover the two very substantive discovery by Total and Shell. And that is after, I don't know, more than 30 years of exploration. The first discovery which was made in Namibia, that was way back in 1974, where gas was discovered. And since then, exploration has been taking place, and we can probably count about 30 to 32 wells that had been drilled without any success. But last year, towards the end of last year, suddenly there are two big discoveries that were made. And I think what really helped us is that we did not give up. Somehow we believe that there has to be something. We always have to tell ourselves, if Angola has got oil just in neighboring countries there, and you also got on the other side of the continent, which is Brazil, and they got oil, somehow we believe that there has to be something in our waters. And therefore, we never gave up. We were able, our licensing system is such that it was very encouraging for people to come. We do have an opening licensing system where people actually can just come and apply for a block. We don't actually go for the licensing, for the bidding block like other jurisdictions. And our turnaround time for actually evaluating applications for licensing has been quite efficient in such a way that actually it's either you get the license or you don't get the license. And we just persevere and we continue, and luckily the exploration companies also were with us all the time because they also believe that the environment is good enough, and therefore they were able to do that. And therefore, really for us, I'm not so sure whether it's advice, because those are probably lessons one can learn. And the only lessons we can probably give to those who are still actually exploring is just to say, don't give up. Just make sure that you have got the right legal framework in place that actually can assure the investors that, if they were to get something, it's going to be a win-win situation. And I think that will actually encourage people to continue to come. For us, now that we got the discovery, we would obviously want to learn from those who have gone through the pace already. We have just visited Minister Lima in Equatorial Guinea, because we believe, as part of the African continent, as the collaboration I was talking about in the morning, it's like we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can simply learn from those who have done it before. And therefore, I again just going to continue to call for the collaborations. It's good that the MSGB, they have these collaborations, but we can extend that to all the African countries, especially through the African Oil Producing Country Association, which we all have. That is really one of our platforms that we should really make use of to make sure that we do not duplicate our efforts, to make sure that we learn all the lessons, bad lessons and good lessons. So that all really, I think I would want to urge all of us to make sure that we collaborate to make sure that we do not duplicate our efforts.
Minister, I would ask this question before I pass on to Foday. With the discoveries you have in Namibia, two questions. How fast are you looking to moving with field development? I know you have appraisals coming up. And what is the role of local content and your vision on that going forward? Because at the end of the day, you talk about desperate times and young people. It's going to be about local content to get them jobs, to get them opportunities. And how do we translate those words into deeds?
I think we have agreed with the oil companies that we need to move as fast as possible to production. We do understand, obviously, there's some appraisal work that must be done. There's some approval that must be made. But I think both partners have committed to the fact that we need to do this as fast as possible. And we think it can be done in 4 years' time. Other people, can do it longer, but we think it can be done in 4 years' time. But it could even be shorter, because basically you need just to understand what must be done. And does it need to take that long? But at least we have got partners who are also committed to make sure that it happens as quick as possible. The local content is one of the items on our agenda, because we believe that as much as we can get revenue from the resource, either from the gas or from the selling of oil, for you really to inject dynamism within the economy, you need to have local content, such that as much as possible is produced within the local economy. As much as services to the oil companies actually provided by local business people. And also to make sure that, with time, at times, of course, local content can differ from country to country. What we would want to prevent is where it did happen in some countries where people would say, yes, we want to have local companies to be the one to be doing the work, except that those local companies are simply on paper and they actually importing all the services from other economies. But what we would really want to see that services is produced within the local economy. And I actually took a good lesson from His Excellency President Macky Sall this morning when he says, let's guard against also having little companies everywhere else, and then you say that's called core content. But if you really can get association where you can get people actually who get together, local entrepreneurs who do get together, I think in that way they're going to be actually have a more meaningful local content activities rather than having individual small companies everywhere. But certainly local content is the biggest thing we have, and through that we know it will be much more meaningful to the economy than simply the revenue that we can get from the resource itself.
Thank you. Mr. Foday, before I go to Minister Mohamed Salah, because I think I have a fight with him on a few questions, but you are driving an ongoing licensing round right now. You're actually the closest to the MSGBC Basin on everybody on the panel. Number one, where do we stand with that licensing round? And how are you navigating this process, especially with all the issues around energy transition, and should Sierra Leone even produce oil and gas?
First of all, I'd like to extend thanks to His Excellency President Macky Sall and Her Excellency the Minister of Petroleum and Energies. And Mr. Ayuk, despite the youth, I still understand protocol. So we are currently in the middle of a license round, as you mentioned, and that's going on until the end of September. So what we've done so far in terms of navigating the whole energy transition process is to aggressively market, because our responsibility, or my responsibility, is to provide electricity and energy to the people of Sierra Leone. And as the figures have been mentioned before, 600 million people in Africa without access to energy, 900 million without access to clean cooking technology, and most of them women. my mandate or my instinct is to make sure that, for my people, I get energy to them. So we've been, aggressive marketing of the licensing round. It's been going very well. Like I said, the target is for it to close on September the 30th, and that's still the case. So the discoveries in the MSGBC Basin region, what that's done is to give people more confidence in the region. Of course, we know that IOCs, they follow each other. We saw that in 2007 after the Jubilee discovery in Ghana. So, what I hope with, the projects that are going on in GTA is that opens the market and exploration in other countries like ourselves, and or other neighboring countries.
Are you making it easier for them to apply as fast turnaround, just like the minister from Namibia said?
Absolutely. So we have, our Petroleum Directorate in Sierra Leone is under the office of the president. So that makes us, it makes us very nimble in our decision making. So, approval comes very quick. So we've removed red tapes. What I've tasked my team to do, is from application to award of license for that process to take 90 days. Now, people appreciate that is a very fast turnaround, but we understand the stage we're in our exploration process. So being nimble, reducing red tapes in the bureaucracies, we know that attracts investment quicker.
Thank you. Minister Mohamed Salah, I have to ask, and I've been told to ask you this, and domestic gas, Mauritania, energy poverty numbers are high. Same like the Gambia. Sierra Leone, the Heathrow Airport uses more energy than the entire country of Sierra Leone. But then you still have millions in Mauritania that really have to deal with energy issues, domestic gas, and you've made strides with Chariot around hydrogen and all of that. What are you putting in place to fast track the development of gas to power projects in country? And why do we have to wait for 4 years to go into phase 2 when it comes to the other projects? Excellency, can we have some help with the mic?
Thank you. First of all, we are just starting in Mauritania, so we have to acknowledge that. And we have conducted 2 or 3 very important studies, and we took the time to do so because we really would like to avoid making mistakes, because we have so many mistakes made in Mauritania and other part of Africa, which are mostly responsible for the situation we are. We had completed a study on master plan for gas in Mauritania, looking at what are the opportunities of investment, and identified some 21 opportunities for using gas in Mauritania. But some of them are short-term or medium-term, others are long-term, some are beyond 2030. We have, of course, a capacity problem. We are starting, as I said, so we don't have basically companies that have enough experience working on gas. And we have to factor all of this in and take into account the importance of building the human resource capabilities. This is our top priority, and we are currently discussing with the top firm. We hope that we'll agree with them in innovative approach to the training, doing things differently so that we can catch up. So for the gas to power, we have 2 sources, 2 immediate sources. One is the one coming from the GTA phase 1. We have already started the study for a power plant that could be located not far from where the GTA is. We are also launching the study for the gasoducts that may transport gas from GTA to the capital Nouakchott, and even looking at the opportunity of transporting gas beyond if one day the Birala project starts. We have also the small field, the smaller field, but ideally located because it's close to Nouakchott and can be immediately used for gas to power in Banda, for which also discussion have been ongoing with a partner. And how we see things developing is to basically have one or two power plant gas to power built between now and 2026. We need to add something like 500 megawatt of gas to power between now and the end of the decade. But as I said earlier, we are really looking at this so roughly from the whole perspective of our energy resources, including the renewable energy resources, and we have just completed the strategy for electrification. The objective is to give access to every Mauritanian to affordable electricity by the end of 2030. It's a huge ambition, but we believe that we have the resources to do so. We have a huge support from the World Bank, European Union, almost all of our partners. The strategy is now completed, and we are at a level of heading down in the action plan. And it will definitely include a large part of renewable resources, solar and wind. It has two objectives. First, as I said earlier, it's really 100% security. When you talk about energy security, we should recall that renewable energy is the most secure energy because it's the closest and the most localized one, and it's totally under our control, if I may say, with God, of course. And with the technology that is evolving, the battery system that is evolving and bringing the cost down, it may soon become the cheapest source of energy, especially if the gas prices remain at the level they are at now. So we are looking at all of this, and our strategy is actually a strategy for bringing electricity at the cheapest cost. This is how the strategy is named, universal access at the cheapest cost. And as colleagues earlier said, transporting huge quantities of fuels, of oil, and on our roads is not the most secure and not the most appropriate way. While if you are a network of decentralized renewable energy sources, you solve that problem, and whatever happens, whether our floods, etc., you have really 100% security. So this is why we encourage ourselves and everyone else to look at the energy in the long term and to look at it in a holistic manner, and of course optimize the use of our gas resources for both domestic use but also for exporters as the resources come in.
Thank you. And I'm just going to go in a final round of closing remarks and questions. Mr. Jobe, I'll start with you. What should we expect from the Gambia over the next 3 months on your side? What key activities would you be carrying on? And finally, what do we expect from you going towards COP27?
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you to His Excellency, the President, Salah, and our dear sister, Honorable Sophie, Gladima, for the invitation. It's an honor to be here to share this panel with the colleagues. Just want to say that I'm glad that the EU has classified gas as clean energy because gas is the bridge fuel between fossil fuel and renewable. Mm-hmm. You know, this is something, it's a resource that is needed. And it's in abundant, the resource is in abundant, it's abundant, the resource is abundant in the ground, and it has to be exploited so that it can transform our economies, transform the lives of our people, provide access to electricity, access to cooking oil, cooking gas, and change deforestation, and all the associated issues. I think in the Gambia, we are very much committed to renewable energy. We have a policy to have 40% of our energy source from renewable, including, of course, gas. And I think here what we've had, Senegal and Mauritania, with the recent discoveries of gas, can be a hub for the sub-region, and especially a hub for the MSGBC. The issue is to be able to have the infrastructure to transport that gas to, the countries, the member countries, or or beyond the grouping, so that the gas can reach countries to be able to use the gas to produce electricity. Gas to power is the key. We need to transform also some of our heavy fuel oil, generating sets, to, gas-powered plants, because we believe that, the benefit is enormous, is cost-effective, and, overall, we are not opposed, as in the Gambia, we are not opposed to the climate change, our obligations to Paris Agreement. As you very well know, the Gambia is one of the countries that was reported to be fulfilling the Paris Agreement. And this is something, we're environmentally responsible country, and our licensing, rounds are open. We have very niche and very short and progressive and hand-holding, licensing process to support, potential investors to come to the Gambia and explore the opportunities, because as you know, next door they found oil and gas. We share the same geological formation, so we believe that we'll also find it one day. It's there, so it's just.
Are we having suitors for the blocks relinquished by BP?
Pardon?
Are we having suitors for the blocks relinquished by BP?
Can you come again?
Is there anybody in line to take on the BP, I think that's block 1 and B, if I'm not?
Yes.
Yeah. Do we have anything ongoing?
Yeah.
You could tell me, I wouldn't tell anybody. I promise.
We have one of the most promising blocks, which we are talking with potential partners. And I think this grouping, I said to some colleagues here, the MSGBC, it's a wonderful platform, for sharing of experience and knowledge for these countries, and also for the wider African population, together with our strategic partners that are here. But I do believe that we need to formalize. I don't know, because I asked some time ago my staff whether there's a formal sort of established some kind of transboundary cooperation that is formalized, to try to explore our shared resources or our shared knowledge. And because there's something similar that the Senegalese, Mauritanian, the Gambian, and the Guinea-Bissau is doing, which is called the Senegalese Mauritanian Aqua Basin, where sometime last year there was a meeting of the ministers of these 4 countries in Geneva, where there was a declaration to establish a cooperation between these countries for the shared, aquifer basin. So it's something that we can also establish formally. I mean, it's not an organization, it's just a cooperation, and I think your organization is very pivotal in supporting the aspirations of the MSGBC. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Really appreciate it. Minister Mohamed, Salah, your final remarks, if any, before we go to Minister Lima. You will close.
Thank you very much. Actually, not much to say, except thanking again Sophie for her leadership into history, reminding everyone that as President Macky Sall announced it, the next session of the MSGBC will be in Mauritania, in Nouakchott, and you are all welcome. Please mark that on your agenda. You will receive the invitation, and hopefully by that time the crisis we are living in will have, hopefully, probably not disappeared, but at least lessened, so that we can talk in a more relaxed context and share our views. My only remark, this is a time for Africa. It's a good time for Africa. We should seize the opportunity. And there are plenty of opportunities. And one of them is to have a good partnership with the European Union. They need us for now, and we can offer also to them. Let's not lose that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, you are ready.
What I say?
It's your house. You can say whatever you want.
Thank you. Merci. Alors, NG. Remercier encore une fois de plus tous les collègues qui ont accepté cette invitation. Et je pense que c'est depuis la COP 26, comme je le disais tout à l'heure avec son Excellence, qu'on a senti vraiment ce besoin de se retrouver entre Africains. Parce que c'était important. Et je pense qu'aujourd'hui, l'intégration africaine va passer par peut-être les ressources naturelles. Nous n'avons plus le choix. Nous avons des bassins communs que nous devons essayer d'exploiter ensemble. Quand on prend le Congo, les 2 Congos aujourd'hui, avec tout ce qu'ils ont comme ressources hydrauliques, on devrait pouvoir donner de l'énergie à toute l'Afrique. Et si on regarde également aujourd'hui nos ressources pétrolières et gazières, à travers les différents bassins, que ce soit le bassin aujourd'hui dont on parle, MSGBC, qui est un bassin sédimentaire côtier, mais nous avons également le bassin de Léone, d'autres bassins qui regroupent, par exemple, le Sierra Leone, la Guinée ou autres. Et là, je pense que l'Afrique aussi doit utiliser un outil qu'on oublie toujours, c'est la recherche. Nous avons des chercheurs qui travaillent ensemble, beaucoup, qui font des découvertes, mais qui malheureusement ne sont pas exploités pour les vendre ou bien les exploiter du point de vue économique. Parce que les géologues et les scientifiques, souvent, ne sont pas des économistes. Ils ne connaissent pas la valeur qu'il y a derrière leur recherche. Or, c'est en exploitant ces résultats de la recherche qu'on devrait pouvoir aujourd'hui se donner la main. Parce que si on prend l'exemple du Sénégal et de la Mauritanie aujourd'hui à travers le projet GTA, accepter ensemble de vouloir exploiter cette ressource, qu'on fasse la même chose avec la Gambie, parce qu'aujourd'hui, les blocs dont ils parlent en Gambie sont des blocs qui continuent au Sénégal. Donc, s'il y avait des compagnies qui acceptaient de faire la même chose qu'on a fait au niveau des GTA à l'intérieur de l'Afrique, on serait obligé de se parler entre Africains. Donc, exploiter et trouver les moyens d'aller vendre. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, il faudrait qu'on soit unis, il faut qu'on se donne la main. Si entre Africains déjà on ne se parle pas, c'est normal que d'autres viennent nous diviser. Et c'est nous les jeunes. Dommage que nos aînés ont essayé, ils ont tenté des choses. Et ça avait marché. Quand on regarde aujourd'hui les grands programmes qui se faisaient en Afrique. Moi, j'étais jeune quand je voyais des enseignants venir de la Tanzanie, venir de la Namibie, venir pour travailler dans le Sahel. Et nous ne le faisons plus. Les programmes PALIDAF, on essayé de voir pourquoi ces changements climatiques. Aujourd'hui, l'Afrique a été le premier à se soucier de ces changements climatiques. Parce qu'on était frappé par le désert. Aussi bien le désert qu'on a vu au nord que le désert qu'on a vu au sud. Le désert du Kalahari et le désert qui commençait depuis la Mauritanie et qui descendait vers le Sahel. Et donc, ce sont des chercheurs africains qui ont travaillé pour essayer de comprendre l'effet de ces changements climatiques sur l'homme, parce que le Sahara était vert avant. Donc, il y avait beaucoup d'eau. Beaucoup d'eau. Quand on regarde les peintures rupestres, la malchance, c'est que les Africains n'écrivent pas. On est beaucoup plus une population orale. Et quand on regarde les peintures rupestres, on se rendait compte que ces endroits étaient des endroits prospères. Et il n'y avait pas de limite, il n'y avait pas de frontières. Et donc ces chercheurs ont travaillé là-dessus et ont donné des explications. On parle aujourd'hui de les tourbières. Mais dans la zone des Niayes, ce sont les mêmes tourbières qu'on avait. Et ce qui a poussé quelqu'un comme Roger Bills à travailler sur Gadiaga. Donc les premiers gisements qu'on a eus, c'est quelqu'un qui a eu l'amour de la recherche et qui est allé exploiter ces petites niches de gaz. Et ensuite, ça a donné espoir aux grandes compagnies à venir et jusqu'à trouver ces réserves. Et donc, je pense que nous devons, comme l'a dit le président ce matin, pousser les jeunes à créer de petites sociétés, mais que ces petites sociétés se mettent ensemble pour pouvoir devenir de grandes compagnies et transcender l'Afrique et aller vers l'extérieur. Vraiment, c'est sur ces mots d'appel. Nous allons vers la COP27. Cette COP27, nous devons refuser le dictat et dire qu'aujourd'hui, ce que l'Afrique veut, c'est-à-dire exploiter ses ressources pour le développement du continent africain. Avoir de l'électricité, mais surtout l'industrialisation. Parce que sans cette industrialisation, nous ne pouvons pas créer d'emplois. Et c'est cette création d'emplois qui entraînera la stabilité de nos pays. Parce que tant que nos pays ne seront pas stables, le monde entier sera instable. Ce sera toujours des jeunes qui voudront aller chercher l'Eldorado ailleurs. Au moment où l'Eldorado, c'est l'Afrique. L'Eldorado, c'est l'Afrique. L'Eldorado, c'est l'Afrique. Donc, ensemble, croyons à l'Afrique et ensemble, donnons-nous la main. Ensemble, travaillons avec les autres qui ont l'expérience. Nous remercions toutes les compagnies qui acceptent de venir travailler avec nous. Je ne veux pas les citer. Elles sont là, elles sont ailleurs en Afrique. Ensemble, donnons-nous la main pour un partenariat gagnant-gagnant. Merci encore, Dieu, de nous donner l'opportunité d'être ensemble et de discuter et de nous donner l'opportunité pour que l'année prochaine, pour qu'on puisse aller en Mauritanie, et c'est ça l'intérêt d'ailleurs. On a commencé au Sénégal, mais le bassin, c'est la Mauritanie, c'est la Gambie. On va le commencer parce que nous avons aussi le bassin OMVS, qui est une autre structure qui nous permet de nous rencontrer autour de l'électricité. Et nous avons décidé entre ministres de l'électricité, des énergies également, de nous retrouver, même au-delà des rencontres scientifiques, de nous retrouver entre Mauritaniens, entre Gambiens, entre Maliens, entre Guinéens, et de discuter, parce que le temps est très court souvent, mais si on passe 2 jours, 3 jours ensemble dans le désert, il a promis de nous recevoir également en Mauritanie au mois de novembre, parce qu'on a chanté les louanges du désert mauritanien, qui a ses charmes qu'on ne connaît pas. Et donc, au lieu d'aller ailleurs, on ira d'abord en Mauritanie encore, et puis après, la tournée se fera vers la Gambie, en attendant qu'on aille vers les autres pays. Merci beaucoup. Voilà, il veut reprendre la parole parce que
Okay.
Non, juste pour dire que le changement climatique nous a joué un tour cette année. Alors, il y a 30 localités qui ont reçu plus de 100 mm en une fois en 2 heures. Et la pluie qui devait aller en Grande-Bretagne et en France est venue en Mauritanie. Let's hope it stays like this.
Mais je lui disais qu'il y a une étude qui a prouvé que ce n'est pas la quantité de pluie, mais c'est l'intensité de la pluie qui recharge les nappes. Et que donc les nappes en Mauritanie vont se recharger et que bientôt on ira chercher de l'eau en Mauritanie parce que nous aussi l'eau va se raréfier chez nous, mais chez eux les nappes vont se recharger en Mauritanie. Voilà ce qu'on a trouvé comme solution hier entre le Sénégal et la Mauritanie, au-delà même du pétrole maintenant.
I have been warned to end this discussion, and I think with ministers you want to go on and on and on because you always have something good in it. I had a series of really, really good things to try to purge out from them, but most of the ministers here are going to be serving on different panels across today and tomorrow. So, but I think a lot of more interaction would mean meeting with the minister's staff. I could see the staff from the ministry in Mauritania here. I could see the head of the National Oil Company from Sierra Leone, from the Gambia. So we should try to interact more. And where's Ims? Emmanuel Mulunga is here. He came to Senegal. He's ready for the dance tonight at the party. He promised me that. And I think we're running out of time because of the long sessions this morning. So please do your best to interact with the ministers. They're going to be serving on different discussions tomorrow that will be arranged. After this, we have the NOC discussions. If you don't have the NOC discussions, we'll be in trouble. But thank you so much. And ministers, we really want to thank you. We always know it's very hard to get you guys all in a room, to get all your perspectives. And we want to thank you for your patience. I want to thank you for really coming together. And I think it has been a very fruitful dialogue. And let's continue this. Let's keep marching. And hopefully we'll get to push more. Put your hands together for these ministers and this conversation. I think we'll get a group photo among the ministers. Then I think they would be starting the NOC panel.